We have the briefing. Let's cut across.
Is that the FBI stands with the people of Butler County in Western Pennsylvania, and our hearts go out to the victims of this heinous act which occurred today. This is our community, and I want to let the public know that the FBI has deployed a number of our resources, including investigative agents, our evidence response team, bomb technicians, and we have additional resources coming from other field offices, as well as from FBI headquarters, including our evidence response from Quantico, Virginia. We have intelligence analysts as well, working from our field office in Pittsburgh, working feverishly to attempt to identify the individual who did this and any motives behind why this was done. Right now, we need the public's help. Anyone who was on scene, who saw anything, who identified any information, please report that to the FBI using either the phone number 1-800-CALL-FBI or online at fbi.gov/Butler. This evening we had what we're calling an assassination attempt against our former president, Donald Trump. It's still an active crime scene. As I mentioned, we have a number of agents on scene. We also are working closely with other federal agencies, our state partners, and our local police partners as well. Again, at this time, we are not prepared to identify who the shooter is. We are close to that identification, and as soon as we are 100% confident in who that individual is, we will share it with the press. With that being said, also, we do not currently have an identified motive, although our investigators are working tirelessly to attempt to identify what that motive was. At this time, I'm going to turn over the podium to Colonel Chris Paris from the Pennsylvania State Police.
Thank you very much. My name is Colonel Chris Paris, P-A-R-I-S, Commissioner of Pennsylvania State Police. I would just like to say that the State Police have been in regular contact with the Governor's office, and the full support and assets of the entire agency are behind the FBI and our other federal and municipal partners to assist with this investigation. The thoughts and prayers of the Pennsylvania State Police are likewise with the victims of this terrible act. We are prepared to support this investigation in any way, shape, or form, and we stand ready to participate in a full, fair, and competent and thorough investigation. To give you an operational rundown, Deputy Commissioner of Operations, Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens, is behind me, and he will discuss the operational portion that's being conducted by the Pennsylvania State Police. Lieutenant Colonel Bivens.
Good evening. So let me describe for you a little bit about the scene that we have over there. As you know, there was a grandstand, a very large area, a lot of people there when this all unfolded. The former president had come out and begun to speak shortly after 6 o'clock this evening. And within about 10 to 15 minutes, a number of sounds were heard, and it became apparent that shots were being fired in that direction. It was a chaotic scene. Law enforcement, I believe, acted heroically, quickly identifying and neutralizing the threat, as well as responding to assist the various victims. PSP had a significant presence on the scene along with all of our federal partners at the time of the shooting. We have since enhanced that presence significantly, bringing in resources from all over the Commonwealth to ensure that we have a speedy, thorough investigation. We are working very closely with the FBI as we work through this. As you can imagine, because of the variety of crimes that have been committed, some are under federal jurisdiction, some are under state jurisdiction. And so, we're working through all of that, not an issue at all. We work seamlessly. But the FBI has maintained the lead on the attempted assassination. PSP will take the lead on the homicide and the shootings of the other individuals in the grandstand area. And so there are a lot of witnesses to be interviewed, a lot of things to be processed. There were some complicators that hopefully the next time we speak we can describe for you, but some complicators that slowed down some of the processing and the positive identification of the shooter. But know that at this time we have no reason to believe that there is any other existing threat out there. We are doing everything we can to make sure that this is thoroughly investigated, and that if there is any information developed that anyone else was involved, that between PSP and the FBI, that will very quickly be followed up on. So I think at this time we would open it up to questions from all of you.
Was this a lone wolf attack?
Again, I think it's too early to say that. We have one shooter tentatively identified, but we're not stopping there. We're following up on a lot of information. It will be some time until we can conclusively say or answer that question, I think.
How long do you think that gun is hiding up there? I mean, we saw the snipers up there, guys, the crowd kind of rolling in and looked at that to get a viewpoint to check everyone out. How long is that hiding up there?
Again, that will all be part of the investigation, but that will all be part of the investigation. But I can tell you that preliminarily it appears everything unfolded very quickly. So again, we'll have more information on that, but it's just too early to start definitively saying this happened at this exact time. And
but it wasn't like it was inside the security perimeter, right? That building was on the outside of it?
That's correct.
How far outside of it?
We'll have that information for you. It was some distance outside of the
Colonel,
security
can you
perimeter.
comment on reports that there were people who saw someone on the roof and tried to alert authorities?
We're following up on those. I will tell you that I am aware of those, and I am aware that law enforcement had responded to a number of reports of suspicious activity. The specific response to this will be all part of the after action, but yes, law enforcement was responding to check on several suspicious occurrences.
What were the other suspicious occurrences?
That'll all be part of the investigation.
So this is the press briefing where the FBI and the Secret Service has also asked for any information on the shooter.
So again, we're not prepared at this time to provide the identity.
Seem to be facing technical difficulties. We'll cut across as and when we get a line. So this is the FBI as well as the Secret Service briefing on the details on the alleged assassination attempt on Donald Trump. In fact, the officials say that they are working feverishly and are asking the public for any information whatsoever. The Secret Service saying that we are calling it an assassination bid. The details that are available at this point on the shooter not being revealed in the press briefing yet. There is one rally goer who has been shot dead. The shooter himself has also been neutralized by the Secret Services, the Secret Service sniper that was present at Trump's rally. So the incident took place a few hours earlier. This is the first briefing that has come in from the FBI as well as the Secret Service. The FBI has taken over the case. The former President Donald Trump saying that he is fine in the latest. He has also left from Pennsylvania after a medical checkup. So there was an assassination attempt that left him with a bullet wound to the right ear. The gunman opened fire on the campaign rally in Pennsylvania and was killed by the Secret Service agents. A spectator, one of the attendees, was also killed.
It could have been a lot worse.
Absolutely.
Are
Oh,
you
absolutely.
able to comment more about that and how it was taken care of so quickly?
So I think the credit goes to not only the Secret Service, who was on site, but also the state and local partners who were there on site and were able to react immediately when the incident occurred.
Do you know how many officers fired their weapons?
I do not.
I understand that it's very early and there's still going to be a lot of questions, but I mean,
At this point, a lot of things to occur. make those determinations of what, if any, failures there were. So really, we can't comment on that at this time.
You can't say if Secret Service had checked those buildings or were keeping a close eye or...
Really have to defer to Secret Service for those questions.
Was there any law enforcement at the AGR property prior to the event? And were there police at that location at any point during the event?
Are you saying the location where the shooter was located?
Yes.
I don't have any information on that. You'd have to refer to Secret Service.
When do you think you will release? When will the name of the shooter be released? I mean, any inkling of when that might happen, tomorrow or?
So that'll be, as soon as we've confirmed 100%, we're willing to release that. So if we have, as far as the contact information for the press, we should be able to do that within the next few hours, I imagine.
There was a vehicle being checked not far from here. We've also heard of a possible related scene in Bethel Park. Is there anything you can tell us tonight about other areas where law enforcement may be searching in relation to this case?
Again, right now we're tracking down all leads and doing all interviews and tracking anything that we can regarding suspicious locations, vehicles, locations, interviewing individuals. So it's all related to this event, but I can't confirm or deny anything that's going on beyond that.
Have you tell us about the weapon that the shooter used?
Details of the weapon?
Yeah, what kind of rifle was it?
The information of who the shooter is.
So these are the details that have come in thus far on the incident, saying that we will release the shooter's name in just a few hours. So the FBI has taken over the case. The Secret Services also involved in the investigations. So the shooter's name has been identified. Any more information on the shooter also being sought by the agencies. In fact, the FBI also saying that there is no reason to believe that there is an existing threat out there. So hinting at perhaps the fact that this could be a lone wolf attack. Consulting editor Srinjoy Chaudhary on the broadcast with us. Srinjoy, the FBI briefing, take us through the key points from there. The FBI and the Secret Service, of course, saying that we are calling it an assassination bid.
Yes, it is an assassination bid, but the FBI and the Secret Service have not said the following things. One, they have not said who was the person, the attempted assassin. Second, they have not said whether it was a conspiracy or it was a lone wolf thing, though they have hinted at the latter when they said that, well, we now know that that area is safe. But even that doesn't suggest that. It's quite possible that while there wasn't more than one attempted assassin there in Butler, it can be a part of a larger conspiracy. Now, all these people, even if it were a lone wolf involved, would be on the net. And if you go back to his house and to his computer and his laptop, there will be a lot of evidence on what weapon stores he has scoped, what his ideological choices are, what he has been listening to in terms of stuff on YouTube. All of those things will be available. So the personality of the person will be very well created. That, of course, is one. But the most important thing is they still are not 100% sure. They are almost there, so which is why the name of the assassin, perhaps even a photograph of the assassin, is likely to be released in 2-3 hours, is what you heard. The other thing, of course, it's a part of a longer investigation.
Just stay with us. Let's cut across to the briefing. That has come in from the FBI as well as the Secret Services.
Public, because I'm sure there'll be cell phone video. There'll be all kinds of information that we'll use to fully flesh out exactly what happened here.
I know you're saying you can't say what type of gun it is, but do you know how many shots were fired?
I don't.
And
I don't have that information as far as that. That'll come out in the investigation as well.
Is there an identification tonight on the other victims?
As far as the civilians,
civilians that were injured and killed.
Yeah.
So we do identification clarification on those. We're not prepared to release it at this time. We have notified a number of family members, but they have not had an opportunity to notify extended family and things. I would confirm for you that we did have one individual killed, and I know I heard somebody say about 2 victims. There were 3 in total besides the former president. So 2 critically wounded, 1 killed.
At this point, do you know if they were sitting near each other and where in relation to the former president were?
I don't have their exact seating by individual. Again, that'll all be part of the investigation, but their shots were scattered somewhat, and so they weren't just into one particular location.
You're saying just one fatality as of right now?
Yes.
The shooter and 1 fatality.
The shooter plus 1 fatality.
Okay.
So there was 1 victim of the shooter who was killed, and then the shooter was killed.
And then 2 incredible.
Yes, ma'am.
Witnesses say they saw a semi-automatic rifle used by the shooter. Can you share any more details of it? That's what
I've heard those reports as well, and again, we do have a good idea of what the weapon was, but again, that's all part of the ongoing investigation. And I'm not trying to be cagey about that. When the SAC talked about the need to be very methodical and to be cautious with that scene, we are doing just that. We don't want anybody else getting hurt, and candidly, there are some concerns that we'll be able to talk more about later on about just what those concerns are and continue to be.
Why haven't you talked to the shooter's family yet?
That's all part of the investigation.
At this event, there are a lot of really angry people. Are you monitoring? Have there been any threats in response to this? Are you worried? Have there been any specific threats?
That's certainly a concern, and we're monitoring that whole situation. I mentioned that we're bringing a lot of assets to bear, and so like the FBI, utilizing their analysts, we also have the Pennsylvania Criminal Intelligence Center. We will utilize the resources of our intelligence division and the Criminal Intelligence Center to be able to monitor for concerns about any threats, regardless of the side of the issue or the political spectrum. We want to make sure that we try and avoid any further violence.
But no, nothing specific so far?
No, sir.
Without identifying them by name, can you say anything about the other folks who were injured or killed? Were they adults, men, male, female, anything at all?
They were adults, and they're male.
All 3?
Yes.
How difficult today is this for your department, though, or all your departments to go talk to family members, including the civilians who were gunned down while they went to a rally to try and, celebrate, I guess, the upcoming election? What are those conversations like, and how do you kind of get through that?
We have trained investigators, and we're partnered hand in hand with the FBI, again, because we've got some federal violations, some state violations, and so our investigators are going out and methodically. We have a large team of investigators that are going out, dividing up these interviews and trying to conduct them as quickly as possible, and then there will be follow-ups. With the FBI asking for people to call in tips, I have no doubt that we will receive a lot of additional information that will also require follow-up. But again, we're working very well together, and it's only a short matter of time until we get through all of those interviews.
How close and cold was it for President Trump?
There were no police hit with bullets.
From your experience, how close and cold was it for?
I'm not going to speculate or comment on that.
Have any of you talked to the president? Did any of you have any kind of reaction?
No.
Which law enforcement agencies were tasked with securing this particular rally outside of the United States Secret Service?
Well, Secret Service always has the lead on securing something like this, but then they work very closely. And I hate to use the word routine, but it is a fairly routine matter for all of our agencies to work jointly with the Secret Service. And it really depends on the venue, on what information is out there, what number of resources are devoted to it, and we work with them to provide whatever is requested by the Secret Service, but they're the lead in that security.
Was there anything about this venue that made it particularly difficult to secure?
I would defer to the Secret Service to answer that. They would have done the initial assessment.
Was the rooftop part of what was being secured? Was
given its proximity to the event, part of that process?
It's my understanding that was outside of the perimeter.
Did this shooter have any previous criminal history?
We're not going to comment on anything about the
Did
shooter.
any agency deny Trump's team extra security? Any of the agencies that are out there?
Not that I'm aware of.
If Trump had been the nominee already, would he have had additional security for this event?
There again, Secret Service has the lead, and I'm not going to comment or speculate on what may or may not be provided at any given point, depending on their status as a candidate. What I will tell you is that, in my experience, the Secret Service does an excellent job of maintaining security on protectees. They're very cautious. They don't hesitate to ask for resources, and candidly, we don't hesitate to supply those resources.
Colonel, you're asking for the public's help. Can you elaborate and be more specific about what you'd really like to see from the public? Videos, photos, personal accounts?
I think the videos and photos would be very helpful, and I think that once the shooter is identified, anyone that has specific information on that shooter, that would be very helpful as well to help us assess motive. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we are absolutely not taking for granted that this was a lone wolf attack, and so we would be looking for any additional information that might point us toward anybody else that may have had a hand in this.
Sir, at this point, what is the main focus of the investigation? What's the most important thing for you right now, a few hours?
Well, there's not any one single focus. I mean, certainly the immediate focus was life safety, getting the former president out of there and to care, getting care to the other victims, and trying to secure the scene as quickly as possible. It shifted then from a life safety priority to then an investigative priority. And so I guess if I had to point to where we are right now, the single greatest priority would be to identifying a motive and whether there was anyone else involved.
We're just beginning the political season. Are you guys concerned with all of these rallies that happen and how they're set up? Is this going to change maybe the venues?
Again, I would refer you to the Secret Service in terms of what they work out with the campaigns.